The West Bloomfield Township Public Library's local author fair will put great reads in your hands from authors close to home here in our community. And variety is both the spice of life and the library, with stories aimed at both adults, kids, and families alike at this weekend's event. Suzanne Jacobs Lipshaw's work features playful stories with a touch of life lessons for you and yours. You'll see hers this weekend at the library, but first, you'll see her joining us today on the Splash Live. Suzanne, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you on, as you're going to be one of many people joining in on the local author fair this year. You are a children's author primarily. What inspired that, and how did your journey to now being a regular writer of children's material come about?
It really goes back to my early childhood. When I was 9, I was that student that wrote a 10-page paper when you were assigned to write a 2-page paper. I eventually was editor of my school newspaper. I knew I always wanted to do something with writing, but teaching ended up being my calling for a profession, and writing got put to the side. And then New Year's Eve, going on to 2017, I decided that my dream of becoming a children's author was never going to happen if I didn't make a concerted effort. So I made a New Year's resolution to do just that. And it's the first and only New Year's resolution I've ever kept.
And you know, you only need that one to go through to provide that inspiration that leads to something that's a regular activity. And now you have written more than just that one story. You've turned this into something that you do on a regular basis. And now here in our community in West Bloomfield, going to be presenting these stories to many families. This is a bedroom community. It's a family community. And these stories all come with valuable life lessons. But that's really the difficult part, I'd imagine, for children's authors. It's telling a really good story that'll get the whole family engaged, but including those life lessons. How do you balance that?
Well, basically, you don't want to be didactic. You want to have that, the life lesson, the underlying theme, sure, but the joy of the story and the words and the things that you're portraying through your plot, or for me in nonfiction, not necessarily so much a plot, but the information being told in a really fun, engaging way, is how you make it entertaining and you still get your message across.
Suzanne Jacobs Lipshaw is with us on the Splash Live. The West Bloomfield Local Author Fair, third annual version of this event, will be happening this weekend, March 22nd at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. It's at the main branch. Visit wblib.org for even more information. What does your process look like of writing these stories? Because it's very different of an experience writing for children in particular than it is writing for adults or even older children.
I first start with, obviously come up with the idea. I have a long list of ideas that I'm thinking about, and some resonate more with me than others, and those are the ones that I work towards first and foremost. When I write my nonfiction books, and what came as a surprise to me when I wrote my first children's fiction novel was the amount of research that I also had to do for that. And I actually love doing the research, delving into a topic of interest to me, speaking out to people through interviews, going for my novel. It takes place in Marquette, so I got to spend 2 separate week vacation/research work trips in Marquette. Just really a great way to experience and be part of the information in your novel. Once I've done that, for the picture books, I just start writing. And for the novel, I had a very detailed outline that I followed before I started writing. When you write, it's just like I taught my students when we were teaching. You write that first draft quick, and it doesn't have to be good. I call it my crappy first draft. But you want to just get your words out and your ideas out, and then you go back and focus. And really, the hardest work comes in the revision process, which is constant and way more than anyone could ever imagine you're spending time on. The number of revisions is huge.
Yeah, and that first draft, that's really good advice. That's probably the best advice I've heard from an author talking about this going into the local author fair for so many, because this is something that people look forward to get to meet these local authors, but it's also some inspiration too for authors in our community that may want to participate in this next year, start working on their piece, to just go out there and write and then get into that editing process and perfecting it later on, because if you're trying to make it perfect right away, it's going to take forever to get the story done. If you get it done right away and you have the building blocks, you're able to move forward with that. Suzanne, so much of what you do is not only connecting with the kids, but connecting with the families as well. How do you put that element into your storytelling, but also when you appear at something like the local author fair, to make those connections with the parents that ultimately are providing that bridge between you, your story, and the kids that these lessons are reaching?
I think the hardest part for an author in general, especially so much these days, is the marketing aspect. You know, we get into it for writing, and now we are in charge of a lot of the marketing. I do school visits, which I love, because then parents get to know me through just the book order forms that come back, and so they can do a little bit of research on my book and find me that way. I love engaging with students at the fairs, and as well as the school visits, and the conversations that you can have one-on-one with parents as well as their children at an author fair like the one in West Bloomfield are amazing, because even if they don't purchase the book, which is fine, I have inspired so many people to go on and try to write that book that they've been wanting to write, and that just warms my heart. That's part of, I feel like I'm still teaching to this day, and now I'm teaching adults, you know, what they can do to become authors.
And that's what's part of the magic of the third annual local author fair, is inspiring not only the kids through your stories, but also having all these authors together, inspiring other creatives in our community, and the library providing that outlet for them to present their stories that maybe they've self-published or they're trying to get published and get connections to be able to do that. But like you said, the marketing aspect, so important and so crucial to independent authors like yourself. How does something like this connection with the local library in West Bloomfield, help bridge some of those gaps and actually get your stories out to readers?
It's huge. I mean, it gives us the exposure that's very, very difficult to get. And I've actually done the West Bloomfield Library Fair once before, and I've developed relationships. I met the mayor of Keiko Harbor at the fair, and we've stayed in touch. And it really is an honor to be able to participate in events like that. And we truly appreciate West Bloomfield and other local libraries that are willing to do this for us authors. They don't charge us too, which is a huge benefit. We were to go to any craft fair, there's a fee. So it's wonderful. And then, of course, we want to support our libraries at the same time. So anything that we can do to help them is something that is really important to authors.
Lastly, Suzanne, before we let you go today, what do you hope when you speak to all these different readers in the community, maybe even some of the kids that will look through your book and ultimately take that home? What do you hope that parents, kids, and families take away from your creative storytelling?
I'd say the main message that flows through almost every single, if not all, of my 5 books is that no matter how old you are, you can make a difference. And it can be a huge difference, like in one book where my son changed the law banning ice cream trucks in West Bloomfield way back when, or something little by just helping another friend or a sibling. You are making a difference.
More information on the library's local author fair can be found on their website at wblib.org, or stop by on the afternoon of Sunday, March 22nd, to meet authors like Suzanne Jacobs Lipshaw. Suzanne, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.